All righty, guys. Forgive me for being a little late. I was having a little bit of a sneeze fit there. I may have broken a record. It was like 13 in a row. But welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. You can call me Sleuth. Today we will be covering the Kyron Horman case, another mystery, another unsolved mystery. Good to see everybody. What's up, Shadow? Shadow says the case is from her area. Interesting. Yeah, there still seems to be a really energetic push for answers in Kyron Horman's case. So we're going to try to participate in that. Freckled with the sponsoring today's live stream. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jill, welcome. And we'll look forward to having you back, Freckled. I'm a mess this morning. I think my allergies are acting up. I just went for my morning walk. And you can kind of smell the season changing. You're here. All right. So how many of you are not familiar with this case? Let me see in the chat. Go ahead and type in a 1 in the chat. I pulled a lot of stuff for this case today. I just want to know how deep of a dive we need to go. I really want to focus in on Terry, who seems to be the prime suspect in the case at this moment. And I'll go ahead and explain why I think that is. What's going on, Chopper? Thanks, Freckle. We'll look forward to it. Sidebar, what's up? Terry is my main suspect, in my opinion. Yeah, we'll kind of get into that at the very end. That's kind of where I'm at. But I do see a possibility of something really strange happening and her being put into a strange situation. Maybe somebody setting her up. But if you look at all the evidence, I mean, she looks really guilty. And we'll talk about that. Peruvian, what's up? Good afternoon. It is morning time, my friend. R Whip says 1. Okay, so you're not familiar with this case? All right. Then I pulled a couple articles with weird little details about some of Terry's friends, some burner phones, some other things like that. Some conspiracy type stuff. But not really conspiracy, just food for conspiracy, I guess. Silas, what's up? I'm familiar with this one. Okay. So if you hear me getting anything wrong, those of you who have been covering this case, I'm pretty new to this case. So if you hear me getting some of the information mixed up, feel free to correct me in the chat. My wife is getting over being sick. I hope I'm not catching what she had. She was miserable. If you see me go off camera, it's because I'm hacking up a lung. Thank you, Silas. CJ, how you doing? R Whip, good to see you. Thank you. Daisy, welcome. How are you doing? True Crime and Other Stuff says, just watched a few videos on this case before you came on. Hey, everyone. Ooh, doing some research. Yeah, this is a horrible mystery. The family, they try to get together as much as possible. They'll do a press conference. They'll do vigils, and the pain is the same as it is, 13, 14 years later as it was from day one. There's no closing that wound. You can't reopen a wound that's just wide open, that's gaping, right? When Drew Collins met with Johnny Gosh's mother, um, on his countertop was a book. I think it was titled "How to Deal with the Pain." I mean, that just broke my heart, and I doubt that book's even working. Hopefully, it helped. Sweets, what up? Good to see you. Welcome in. The stepmom tried to hire a hitman to murk the dad. You know what? I forgot about that. I do have a video, and we'll watch that. Remind me. I think the hitman had something to do with another case. Can't believe I almost forgot about that. What's up, Sassy? Freckle Joy says, any word when the Westfall interview will be? Yes, I spoke with him last night, and it'll either be later today or sometime tomorrow. We're just kind of playing it by ear. But hopefully it's tonight because I don't have anything going on. But it doesn't matter to me. It's not up to me. Hey, Life's a Dance. I like that name. Life is a dance, right? Morning Sleuth, new here from Allegedly with Brittany. Oh, welcome. Welcome on over. This case goes way back. Thanks for covering it. Thanks for participating in the chat. Thanks for being here. Okay, so what I did, usually during True Crime in the Morning shows, we go over anything that I've written up on the case the night before. Well, today we're doing something different. I wrote, I did my usual. I did my write-up, but I pre-recorded the audio. That way I can kind of spend more time and attention focusing on the visuals while the audio plays. We can stop and go whenever we need to. And we'll get going here in just a few. We're at the 8-minute mark. We'll get going at the 10-minute mark. Just give some people an opportunity to join in. Daisy says, start cold, ease ASAP. I don't think I'm getting sick. This usually happens to me. I'm going to try to drink this coffee, and it has creamer in it. And whenever I have a little bit of allergies and I have anything with like a creamer or coffee or milk or something, it seems to get stuck in the back of my throat. But yeah, I will get on some type of vitamin C. That is a good idea. That's what that is, right? R Whip says, was this about the art show? No, what happened was he was being dropped off at school, and he had a whole bunch of stuff with him that was part of a science fair. But as soon as he was dropped off and set up his science fair, there was an image snapped of him all set up. And then shortly after that, he was gone. He's never been seen since. Yeah, and there's a lot of strange activity from Terry, his stepmother. Hitman was the lawn guy. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Remind me not to skip over that part. We'll save that for the end. With all of these like fringe conspiracy theories relating to the case. Hey, Anna. Anna says apparently Kyron was there at the science fair, but no one saw him leave the school. However, he left. Yeah, and apparently he told one of his friends, like, "Hey, I have a doctor's appointment." And the friend said, "Well, I thought he left with his mother because of a doctor's appointment." Sure enough, none of the teachers were looking around for him because they were under the impression that he was at a doctor's appointment. So this looks like a could be a premeditated murder, but really, there's no solid proof of that, which makes it even more difficult, frustrating for the family. And you'll see that on their faces here when we play a couple of these reports. All right, let's get going here. So that's Kyron and his mother. Cute kid, too. He has a smile for days. Yeah, our whip. Definitely the science fair. Here, I think I have a photo right here. I think this is the last photo ever taken. So he is described as wearing the same, this is the last time he would have been seen alive or seen at all. Hopefully he's still alive. But if the mother's involved, I don't think that that's possible. Not the mother, but the stepmother. I'm sorry. So this is his biological family, his father and his mother. And we'll get into the stepmother, Terry, later on. I want to give another shout out to Freckle Joy for sponsoring today's live stream. That was very thoughtful. Thank you. She's also been supporting my channel as a member and doesn't miss any of the lives. So shout out to you, Freckle. Frank Meister's in the building. What's up, Frank? Anna says the school didn't have cameras and has since installed a very expensive system. Good. Jamie Hicks, welcome. How are you doing? Lulu Gumshoe. That lady is psycho. His poor mother, the stepmother, knows exactly what happened, and I believe she did it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I can't say definitively, and I feel really bad if she had nothing to do with this because there are weird circumstances and coincidences. But man, does she appear guilty? It's one of those cases when they find him, they'll most likely arrest her, is what I'm thinking. Kind of like the Morphew case. Yeah, that's right, Anna. School thought Kyron had a doctor's appointment. And who called in the appointment? None other than Terry. So we'll get into my theories and we'll see if you guys can poke holes in them. And I'll listen to your theories and I'll try to poke holes in those theories. We'll see if we can try to find some answers. But most importantly, we're bringing some attention to this case. The mother believes he is living. Some theories are kind of similar to the Johnny Gosh case. They believe it could be sex trafficking. Yep, and that's what we cover. Lulu is pure evil. And that's when it strikes is when you're complacent. Life is great, everything's going good, and then lightning strikes. Skyline School, Portland, Oregon. Yeah, just tragic set of events, Anna. Okay, let's listen to this is pre-recorded, some things that I wrote down for the case and for today's morning stream. Let's take a listen. Hmm. Okay, let's pause it there. I think I have some of the images from that search. Okay, and another interesting thing is Terry took the truck out. It's this big Dodge 4x4 Super Duty truck. Why did she take that out? It seems like she had this all planned out. She knew she needed that truck to get wherever she was going to go dump the body, I'm assuming. I hate to say that, but I mean, we've covered these cases time and time again. Mark Redwine, there's a good example. Somebody who can come on camera and just lie right to your face. No remorse. Lulu says not to change the subject the day Susan Powell is found. I'm not familiar with that case, Lulu. Like I tell everybody, if you want me to cover a case in these morning shows, shoot me an email. And if there's enough content out there and the mystery is, something on this kind of a level and it needs that attention, we will cover it. Yeah, Gannon. We'll most likely cover Gannon. Very similar. Yeah, we have a folder on Gannon. We'll be covering that at some point in the future. 2010 sidebar. Yes, thank you, Lulu. I mean, look at that. Thank you, True Crime. To be specific, June 4th, 2010. Thank you, Anna. Life's Dance. Life's a Dance says, didn't this happen the same time a baby was taken out of her bed? See, I'm not sure about that. That's the first time I've heard of that. We covered this case in a members only a while back. And I don't remember going over anything like that. I could be wrong. Like I'm saying, I'm pretty new to the case. Yeah, she's a strange one, Lulu, for sure. Two poison it. His wife was Susan Powell, never found. Oh, wow. Trying to cover his tracks, huh? Another Chris Watts. Investigators tracked stepmom's phone near Savi Island. That's a huge island in the Columbia River. My point is the Columbia River is huge and close. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that, where they searched, where they think she might have been. They were actually trying to track her. They were trying to get any camera, any video footage of where that vehicle went. And she gave a timeline. She gave an alibi, and we're going to look at that as well. See if you guys buy it. I don't. Yeah. Or she had help even maybe. There's the truck. All right, let's continue on here. There's an age progression right there. All right, let's go ahead and look into Terry. Terry Moulton Horman. Now, this photo here was taken at the press conference just I think a day or two after he went missing. I mean, she just looks guilty. And he just seems uncomfortable, like he can feel it. He can sense it on her. And I think a few days after this, he ends up kicking her out of the home. There's a 911 call placed and hung up quickly, and he places a restraining order on her. A sidebar says if she did it, she planned it out. She planned it out pretty well. You know, she was real vague with the doctor's appointment, made sure to get him to school, take the photo. So she most likely said, okay, let's get you to the science fair so that you could participate. And then we got to leave very quickly. You got your doctor's appointment. And instead of going to the doctor's appointment, she takes him out into the woods because she might be a psychopath. You know, it may mean nothing to her. It's payback time. Mess with me, you'll see my wrath. Barf bags ready. Here's an old mugshot. She lost custody of her child because she was pulled over for a DUI, and her 11-year-old kid was in the car. Yeah, there's a lot of bodies that are hidden out in our United States forests. That's for sure. Yeah, some women can be really mean. People can be mean. Ginger women. My wife is a ginger. It's funny. She's hardcore too. So you're looking at the stepmother of missing Kyron. She dropped him off. For some reason, she took the truck. She never takes the truck. She had recently told Kyron's father that she was not happy in the relationship. She was the last one to see Kyron alive, dropped him off at the science fair, told the police when he didn't show up, wasn't dropped off by the bus later that day, that last time she seen him was on him walking to class. That was it. So when he didn't show up, when school was out, he never got off that bus. She called police. The reason, if she did do this, the reason she's free is because of her premeditation. Some of these killers don't care. They're like, I don't care if you know I did it or not. I just don't want to go to prison. You can say it all until you're blue in the face that I'm guilty. But can you prove it? Yeah, I admit I agree with that, Anna. Because sometimes when you're going through the information, even the father seems a little suspicious. But he doesn't have this long list of issues like she does. He wasn't the last one to see him alive. He wasn't the one that dropped him off and then shortly after the boy disappears. So there's just a lot of information that makes her look guilty. And that's only half of it. I like Nancy Grace. She was like the first Dr. Phil type, like if you looked guilty, she'll come out and tell it to you. Like, I feel like you're lying. There's no way that makes any sense. There's no way you did this, this, and that. I believe that you're not telling the truth and that you know more. She was the first like person that actually did that. Large display items were taken to the school for the science fair. Chopper. Easy, buddy. I know you're joking. Gingers get a hard time. Okay, let's go ahead and let's watch a couple of these news reports I pulled. I meant to play this one earlier. We'll play two of them back to back. One is basically an overview of the case, and the next one is an actual interview with Terry Moulton Horman. That smile. You guys aren't getting any audio on that? Should be. Oh shit. Did you guys hear the audio that I was playing? My audio? Did you guys hear that earlier? Then you guys didn't hear any of that audio. That sucks. So you guys just saw me clicking images? Oh my goodness. Let's see what went wrong. Oh, Arwip says I heard you. Maybe you guys heard that part, but not this part. Did you guys hear this part? Oh well. There's no going back now. Here, let me start this over.
Horman. This little boy's story captivated the nation when he disappeared all those years ago, and a suspect has never been named in the case. We still don't know what happened to Kyron. We spoke with his mom, who is still working tirelessly all these years later to find her son, to solve the mystery. She believes his stepmom is involved in his disappearance. Here now, a closer look at Kyron Horman's disappearance. June 4th, 2010, 7-year-old Kyron Horman left for school with his stepmom, Terry Horman, excited to show off his second grade science project on tree frogs at Skyline School in Northwest Portland. They went to school in his dad's truck that.
It's a pretty good looking exhibit there. You know, it's just sad to think how hard he worked on that and how excited he is here, only to be kind of stomped out at such a young age.
Skyline School in Northwest Portland. They went to school in his dad's truck that day. Terry didn't normally drive the truck, but she said she'd need it to bring Kyron's science project home. Terry snapped a picture of Kyron with the project, posting it on Facebook that afternoon. But when it was time to pick Kyron up from the bus, he wasn't there.
Kyron is not seen getting off the bus when Terry walks down to the bus at about 3:30.
Kyron's family called the school. Police and the FBI set up staging and search locations around the school and at Kyron's dad, Kane, and Terry's house. For 9 days, police called the search a missing persons case. But on the 10th day, they changed the scope to a criminal investigation.
Would you have to find Kyron before you would make an arrest?
No.
Did you guys hear that?
Here's what they knew.
Let's play that again. This is directed at Terry.
Would you have to find Kyron before you would make an arrest?
No.
He wants to follow up on that. He's saying no, but it would definitely help.
Here's what they knew about June 4th, that day Kyron went missing. Kyron went to school with Terry and his 18-month-old stepsister. Terry said after Kyron showed her his project, he went back to the classroom. But witnesses said they saw Terry and Kyron leaving the school that morning.
She and he were seen out in front of the school by one of Kyron's friends and grandma and sister, and as well as his bus driver, and they were walking out.
Well, there's a correction to that statement. They believe that the person that Kyron was standing with was Terry, but that's only because he was with her earlier. They couldn't say definitively that it was her. All they really know for sure is that they thought they saw Kyron standing with Terry, but they can't say 100% sure it was Terry.
The school down to the main road, which was where the truck was parked.
Kyron's teacher had been told he had a doctor's appointment that day, so when he went missing from class, no one questioned his absence. Terry said she drove around town, stopping at 2 grocery stores to get medicine for her infant daughter.
Okay, let's take a close look at this timeline, and we'll spend more time on it in a little bit. I got a good article that breaks it down in detail. Hey, Shay, coming through with the super chat. We turn a blind eye to signals we don't understand. We cannot know what's in another's head and tend to ignore signals. I agree with that. If you don't feel it, then it doesn't hurt. Call me a conspiracy theorist. We need to look further into 5G. Are you a fellow Alex Jones watcher? InfoWars.
From class, no one questioned his absence. Terry said she drove around town, stopping at 2 grocery stores to get medicine for her infant daughter, who wasn't feeling well. Then she said she spent time driving around to settle her down. Police investigating the case found that her phone had pinged around Highway 30, an area known in Oregon as a road less traveled.
He was missing for 6 hours before they even knew he was missing because they thought he had a doctor's appointment.
Mind of Monsters. I have worked with his family, met her through Twitter. They are heartbroken. They want closure so bad. Yeah, it's unmistakable, the pain on her face, on his mother's face. And you can see the guilt on the father's face because his poor decision was, he believes that Terry's guilty as well. And he married this woman knowing damn well that she had a DUI on her record and child endangerment because the 11-year-old, 11-year-old or 9-year, I think 11-year-old, was in the back seat when she was pulled over. So he knew right now that she was, when he married her, that she was dangerous. So I see the guilt all over his face for that, which is unfortunate. But you can still see it on his face. He feels immense guilt.
Etc. So 6 hours is a long time when a 7-year-old child is missing.
It's been 13 years with no suspects or persons of interest named or charged. But there have been many twists and turns in this case from the very beginning. During their investigation, police discovered that several months before Kyron vanished, Terry allegedly tried to hire a landscaper to kill her husband, Kane. When police heard that story, they notified Kane. Kane left his home with their little girl and filed for divorce. But Terry, in an interview with People magazine and ABC News 7 years ago, said she was always an outsider.
When the police started questioning
We're
us,
going to watch this
they
interview.
took into account more what Kane and Desiree were saying, as opposed
We'll
to
watch
what
it
I
next.
was saying. And I spent my days with him.
Terry spoke privately with police. They told her she failed 2 polygraph tests. And although a judge and a lawyer for Terry have called her a suspect in court papers, she has never been named a suspect or a person of interest by police.
I was willing to talk about anything. I want him home.
The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office would not agree to an interview with News Nation. But last month, ahead of the 13-year anniversary of Kyron's disappearance, they...
See, I think the only reason that Terry hasn't been arrested is because of that small chance that when she left the scene of that school or left his side, somebody quickly came in and convinced him to go with them. You know, there's a small chance that that did happen. I think that's the only reason that she hasn't been arrested, because they can't prove if somebody came in at that last second and took him.
issued a statement saying Kyron's disappearance continues to have a profound impact on our community. The case remains open and active. Investigators are using advances in software, digital forensics, and geospatial technology to support and advance their work. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a new photo last year showing what Kyron might look like today. Meanwhile, Kyron's biological mom, Desiree Young, is still searching for answers, especially from Terry, who was the last person to see Kyron before he vanished. She filed a civil suit against Terry 10 years ago, accusing her of kidnapping Kyron. She dropped the lawsuit, but she's fundraising with things like car washes in hopes of getting a task force and private investigator in place to file a new case.
Like, what else
If
can you
we're
do?
not going to get it ready for court, we're just sitting here waiting for a magic moment that may or may not be in our future.
But Desiree recounts to News Nation a moment she had just days after
same
Kyron
pain.
vanished, when she says she felt both the presence of God and of her son, Kyron. She said in a quiet moment outdoors, she felt the wind kick up and the warmth of Kyron's touch on her hand.
He told me, "Mama, I'm okay. There is a God, and I'm with him, and I'm happy."
That's tough to watch. It's the same pain from day one, if not more. Yeah, I had to stop it. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Let's listen to what Terry has to say.
The bus driver, Jennifer, stopped and she said he's not on the bus. And that was our first inkling that something was wrong. I borrowed Jennifer's cell phone to call the school. That's when I learned he had not been at school that day and had been unaccounted for 6 hours.
Yeah,
And
sorry, I had
nobody
to cut
called
that
me.
one short.
And
Last thing you
that's
need
when
is
the
to see
panic
me a
set
mess.
in.
On June 4th,
Not that I was
2010,
gonna cry.
Kyron Horman disappeared from Skyline School near
'Cause I don't
Portland,
do that.
Oregon. Investigators say that his stepmother, Terry Horman, was the last person to see him. She says she wasn't. Terry's never been named a suspect or person of interest in the investigation, but the suspicion surrounding her has forced her to flee the state and leave her family behind. In this week's issue of People, Terry speaks out for the very first time about what happened that day. And joining me now live is People staff writer Elaine Aradias, who has been covering this story from the start for some 5 years now. Elaine, just a heartbreaking story altogether. So many things involved. How did it get to the point where Terry Horman had to uproot her family and leave town, essentially?
I think she tried to restart her life over and over, moving out of Portland. You know, she did not have custody of her daughter, and she just kept trying to restart her life. And so by the end, the only choice she had was to leave the state.
And again, all of this surrounding suspicion of her as a result of being involved in an investigation where she wasn't even officially named as a suspect. Terry tells People that the investigation gave favorable treatment towards the statements from the biological parents. Let's take a quick look at what she says.
From the get-go, I was an outsider.
It's all about her.
From the get-go, I was the stepmother. I must not know anything. I have been in his life since he was 3 days old. He is every bit my son. And anybody who's been around, he and I will tell you that's how it is. There's people that until this happened did not even know he was not my biological son. So when the police started questioning us, they took into account more what Keen and Desiree were saying as opposed to what I was saying. And I spent my days with him.
Yeah, and you look guilty as shit, and your alibi was paper thin.
Wow, really interesting to hear that. Terry revealing to People that she did long interviews, sometimes 6 to 7 hours at a time with authorities, whatever she could do to cooperate, all without an attorney. So I guess the question, why no attorney? Was she pressured at all in that?
Yeah, if she had anything to do with this, the whole no attorney thing is just part of her strategy. She's obviously a brilliant sociopath, right? She can, if she had anything to do with his disappearance, she has no issue with lying right to your face, right? Look you in the eyes and lie, bold-faced lie.
And does she feel like that was a mistake in hindsight?
She tells me that the
Yep,
police
me,
said,
I.
talk to us without an attorney, because once you get an attorney, you're not going to be cooperative in the investigation as much. So she wanted to cooperate. So for the longest time, she was without an attorney. It was later, probably about 3 weeks later, she finally got an attorney.
Wow. And so that turns out to be something that I'm sure in hindsight she probably would have changed. Terry Horman wasn't officially named a suspect, as we have said, but does she feel like she was blatantly targeted by the investigation?
At the beginning, she didn't know she was the target. She said it took some time when
classic.
she realized that everyone was leaving her, everyone was turning their backs on her, and then she realized, okay, they're looking at me. And so that's the way it's been for the last 5 years.
Sure. From the outside looking in, one of the most suspicious things that kind of came out of this investigation, at least for me, and I think for many other people hearing it, was when Terry failed the first polygraph test. She explains to People her side of that story. Let's take a look.
I am deaf in my left ear. I have to face somebody and read their lips in order to hear what they're saying and get the context of the conversation. The first polygraph was done with the man to my back, and I'm facing the opposite direction. So I am trying to ascertain what he is saying to me as far as the questions are, and it takes a minute to process. And then
Hold on a second, guys. I'm having like an audio delay.
Blatantly targeted.
And
At least for me, and I think for many other people hearing it, was when Terry failed the first.
and I'm facing the opposite direction.
Man, give me a minute, guys. Okay, I think we're good now.
somebody and read their lips in order
There we go.
to hear what.
And Terry failed the first polygraph test. She explains to
What's up,
people her
Karen?
side of that story. Let's take a look.
Welcome.
I am deaf in my left ear. I have to face somebody and read their lips in order to hear what they're saying and get the context of the conversation. The first polygraph was done
That's a
with
first.
the man to my back, and I'm facing the opposite direction. So I am trying to ascertain what he is saying to me as far as the questions are, and it takes a minute to process and then respond. When that first polygraph was done, the polygrapher tells me that I failed, and my first response is, how is that possible? I told the truth.
While hearing that, it certainly sheds a different kind of light on that situation, that failed.
So she failed 2 polygraphs, and her excuse is that she was deaf. Well, why are you answering questions that you didn't hear clearly? She obviously has no problem in that interview. Yeah, true crime. If I had to guess, probably in the woods. Hopefully, they keep up some efforts and get some people out there searching from time to time. That's most likely where he's at. Truth serum. I don't know how legal that is. Yeah, see? You can hear the person interviewing you.
Polygraph. Terry saying that she was never asked, by the way, in a polygraph, whether or not she had murdered Kyron, the 7-year-old boy who went missing, or if she had harmed him in any way. She says she was never asked that in a polygraph. Does Terry feel like that failed polygraph was a pivotal piece to public perception about her and suspicions surrounding her involvement?
I mean, it was released to the media that she failed the polygraph. It just, it got out. And I think whenever you hear that,
So, her alleged involvement.
yeah, and whenever you hear that, the suspicion arises of what did you fail,
Sure.
And but she.
Yeah, that's all you
stands
hear.
by
They
the fact that
failed the
she
polygraph.
was
You're
not
guilty.
involved in this.
Another wild twist here. In the wake of Kyron's disappearance, a murder for hire plot was alleged against Terry, accusing her of planning to have her husband killed. Let's take a look at what she says here.
The murder for hire plot was completely bogus. The person who had done that had an axe to grind with me because he had made forward advances towards me on Mother's Day of that year. And I told him to leave. I had no interest in that. I was married, did not want that whatsoever.
She just sounds like a liar. Like to me, she's telling a half truth, right? So she probably did try to get her husband killed and hiring a hitman, and she tried to use most likely tried to use sex to influence this person, right? But when she tells the story about it, it's him hitting on her.
So she's reacting there to those allegations. Terry Horman saying that all of those allegations ended up causing her to lose custody of her daughter. They at least played a role in her losing custody of her daughter. Tell us about that.
Once Kane was informed that she had allegedly tried to hire someone to kill him, he filed a restraining order. And because of that restraining order, she was not allowed to see her daughter. And that restraining order was renewed for several years. It wasn't
Right.
Stopped until her divorce in December 2013.
Wow.
And
really?
so so she hasn't been able to see her daughter, and they're working on trying to integrate their lives again, but she still hasn't seen her.
So many different elements to this story, intriguing on many levels, but let's look at it. It's been 5 years since Kyron's disappearance. Why is now the time to speak out? What does she hope? What does Terry hope comes out of
Yeah, you're right,
going
Boston.
public with all of her side of the story?
Well, because I think Terry having to leave the state sort of pushed her where it is time for her to speak. She wants to clear the suspicion around her, and she also wants to put the focus back on Kyron. So at the end of the day, there's still a little boy that's missing, and no one knows where he is.
Wow. Such an incredible.
Yeah, he's still missing. The case is still unsolved. I think we have 2 more local reports and then a couple articles. It kind of sucks because you guys didn't hear any of the audio we had at the beginning. You guys didn't hear the audio that I played? Here, let's listen to that real quick.
The Kyron Horman case
Can you guys
is a
hear that?
high-profile missing persons case involving Kyron Richard Horman.
Did you hear that at the beginning of the stream? So that means people are watching the beginning of the live stream going, what's all this silence? What's he talking about? Shadowbox. It's all half-truths with her. Like when she went to the gym but didn't work out, spent the entire time talking about her stepson, which she never did. I'm side-eyeing. She doesn't have a truth-telling style at all. Yeah, polygraphs are just weird in general, right? You're sitting at this table and you got somebody looking at you, giving you the 3rd degree, and they got you strapped up to this machine. You're like set up for failure. Kitty says 2 polygraph tests. And always have to trust a father's instinct. I agree with that. And he knew something was wrong. Okay, we only have a little bit of time. Where should we go? So we have the stepmom's timeline. We can look at that. Terry Horman's vague on Kyron's doctor's appointment. Terry Horman's friend used a fake name to buy burner phones. Shit, we might have to read all those. Here, let's go to the timeline. Let's go and throw her face back up here. Okay, Portland, Oregon. According to multiple sources, Terry Moulton Horman claims she left Skyline School at 8:45 in the morning without her stepson Kyron the day he disappeared, and between 8:45 a.m. and 10:10 a.m., she ran errands at a local grocery stores and can prove it. As the news was first reported, at least 2 stores, the Albertsons on Hillside Highway and the Sunset Fred Meyer, are cooperating with investigators. The Albertsons confirmed it turned over surveillance tape to investigators in the case. Between 10:10 in the morning and 11:39, Terry claims she drove her daughter Kiara around on rural roads in the family's white truck because Kiara had an earache. She claims she was trying to soothe the toddler with the motion of the vehicle. Early on, investigators made a request of the public for any video they might have of the white truck traveling on specific roads through northwest Multnomah County and portions of Washington County. At 11:39 a.m., Terry checked in at a 24-hour fitness in Beaverton on Waterhouse Avenue and worked out for about an hour until 12:40 p.m. Here, let me put something up on the screen while I read this. Found this online. This might help a little bit. So these are all the places she supposedly was traveling to instead of kidnapping her stepson. Yeah, that's weird true crime. Sorry, guys. I had written up this whole thing and you guys didn't get to hear it. Oh, well. No biggie. Yeah, Anna. And that's the reason she's not arrested. Anna says there's lots of reasons the stepmom looks guilty. But if Kyron went missing for some other reason, that's a huge emotional crisis for everyone. And that's the only reason she's not arrested, in my opinion, is because of that small possibility that somebody came in there and took him. But when they do find his body, they're going to find some evidence and she will be arrested, in my opinion. And maybe somebody who helped her. Sassy says, I would have automatically have an anxiety attack. Yeah, and it would probably look like you failed. And I think even when they say, oh, the test results were inconclusive, like you still look guilty. I think the best thing is never to take one of those things, innocent or guilty. CJ says, I'd bet money the stepmother murdered him. He needs to be found. But if she put him in the river, he washed away, and I think animals consumed him. Awful. Yeah, she seems if she did have anything to do with it, she's definitely smart, cold-blooded, and calculated. She just doesn't seem to ever change her emotion. Yeah, Sassy, that doesn't make any sense. Let's go ahead and add motion sickness to an earache. But I do know that sometimes when you drive away, it could help a child fall asleep. Drive around the block or whatever. I've heard that before. Yeah, that's true. I've heard a lot of parents say that. Multnomah. Thank you. Multnomah. Native American tribe. That name lived in the area. Multnomah. Thank you, guys. I have a speech impediment. Life's a dance. What would have been her motive? That's a good question. From my understanding, she wasn't happy in the relationship. She may have been felt betrayed. And the thing about psychopaths, if that's what she is, I don't know. I'm not trained to determine that or not. But if she is a psychopath, really all it has to be is revenge, right? Her wrath. Mess with me, now you see what happens. Freckle says they ask you really confrontational questions too, and you can't react. Yeah, like you're reacting inside and that little needle starts going crazy. Okay, so after 12:40 p.m., by 1:21, Terry claimed she traveled home a distance of nearly 11 miles and was posting photos on Facebook she'd taken that morning of Kyron standing with his science project and of his friend Curtis standing with his. Man, if she had anything to do with this is some cold-blooded, premeditated stuff here. Scary. Sources say she also emailed the teacher to find out when she could come pick up the project as she had not taken it home. Yet, according to Kyron Horman, that was the very reason Terry requested to drive the truck that day to Skyline School. See, it's like none of the stories match up. He said in an email, I typically drive the truck and Terry drives the car. She wanted to use the truck to bring Kyron's science fair project home. Easier done with the truck than the car. 2 of Terry's friends who've taken polygraph tests have turned over evidence, said they are cooperating fully with investigators and have nothing to hide. Dee Dee Spitzer, might be mispronouncing that as well, another friend of Terry's, had been accused by Kyron's biological parents, Desiree Young and Kyron Horman, for not cooperating with police. Spitzer refused to answer reporters' questions Friday. No one has been named a suspect or a person of interest in the case, and police have not made any arrests. Yeah, could be jealous. Maybe the father was thinking about getting back with the mother. Or maybe just wanted to be cordial. Yep, pure evil. Freckles says, I'm not taking up for the stepmom, but polygraphs aren't easy to pass. Yeah, I don't think so. I think most lawyers try to keep their clients from participating in that kind of stuff. Sweets, I have read somewhere else that if she left the husband, since he was father of both kids, courts may side with him to have custody of both. Silas says, we may never understand her motive. I don't know how these folks sleep at night. That poor boy. Yeah, I mean, she seems guilty, guys. I feel like when they find him, they're going to arrest her. And if she has any relationships in the future, they may be in danger, honestly. I believe it is an active case, but I think another search effort might be in order. Another good push. Yeah, she's very calm. Anna says, I thought Terry used the truck to deliver the science fair display to the school, or maybe it was set up the night before. Yeah, I think she dropped it off and then was going to pick it up. So the photo is when she dropped him off with the project. Set it up, took a photo, and said she saw him walking to his classroom, and she left. But I can be confused on that part of the story. They're not too clear. So I don't know if he made the science project at school and she just showed up to pick it up, took a photo, and then instead of picking it up, I don't know. I'm starting to confuse myself. Later, Arwip. Okay, let's read a little bit on the doctor's appointment. Okay, there was no expectation on the part of Skyline School that Kyron Horman would be in class after the science fair the day he disappeared, according to multiple sources. Prior to his June disappearance, Kyron Horman's stepmother, Terry Horman, informed his teacher he had a doctor's appointment on Friday. The sources said, and it was why there was no expectation Kyron would be in class after the science fair. Once class began at 10 a.m., his teacher marked him absent. According to sources, investigators believe Terry Horman was vague about which Friday she was referring to when she gave notice to the school Kyron would be gone, and only after he was missing did she clarify the doctor's appointment was on June 11th, the Friday after the science fair. See, that's very suspicious. Portland Public Schools spokesperson Matt Shelby told the news 2 teachers were the last school staff to see Kyron at Skyline. His own teacher and another teacher saw him inside the school with his stepmother, and there didn't appear to be anything out of the ordinary. Kim Holmes' son Curtis, who Terry Horman photographed with his science project around the time she took a picture of Kyron that morning, said her son knew about the appointment too. In quotes, and the teacher said, I thought he left with his mom because they thought they had a doctor's appointment, Holmes said. And then at lunchtime, Curtis ate lunch with him every day and wasn't there at lunchtime. And then I got a call at 4:30-ish saying he didn't get off the bus, I guess. And Curtis said, oh, yeah, I knew he was already gone all day, Mom. See, so it sounds like Terry told Kyron, like, hey, you can go to your science fair, but then we got to leave right after because you have a doctor's appointment, and tried to make it all confusing. So that would make sense that Kyron was telling his friend, like, hey, I won't be here for the rest. I'm here at the science fair, but I got to leave. I got a doctor's appointment. At 1:21 that afternoon, Terry Horman posted the science fair photos on her Facebook page. At 3:30, she went to meet Kyron's school bus, which he never boarded. Then came her 911 call, and the search for Kyron began. The issue of the doctor's appointment is among several questions that they have submitted to County Sheriff Dan Statton. He's expected to answer those questions in writing sometime in the next couple of days. I don't know, guys. It seems so suspicious, right? She needs the truck, to take the science project, or to use the 4-wheel drive to dump a body, right? She makes up the hospital appointment so that there's confusion and that she has time to get this job accomplished. She needs time to get out there to the woods, dump the body, or do whatever she was doing. She could have had help. Yeah, they were having arguments. Anna, they talk a little bit about it on Dr. Phil, but she says it was no screaming matches. She just told Kyron's father that she was unhappy in the relationship, which could have been the reverse, right? He could have told her he was unhappy. Yeah, I don't think this is her first time hurting somebody, Boston. I agree with that. I agree with that, Anna. It's kind of a waste of time. Unless you can dig up more information like they seem to have done here. So this article was titled Terry Horman's friend used a fake name to buy burner phones for her and Terry. So let's go ahead and plop this little image back up here. Friends of Terry Horman purchased cell phones to communicate with her after stepson Kyron Horman disappeared 2 months ago. And one friend did so using a fake name, several sources said Friday. The phones were purchased after the missing boy's father, Kane Horman, moved out of the family's home. The friend, who is not Dee Dee Spitzer, went to the Lloyd Center and bought a prepaid cell phone at an electronics store. The friend now says she regrets what she now calls a stupid and spur-of-the-moment decision. She said the phone she bought was for herself to use. The woman said she and her two friends, Spitzer and Terry Horman, only decided to get the AT&T phones because their existing Verizon phones did not work well at the Horman's home, which is in a remote area. The woman added she and her friends wanted some level of privacy with their conversations, which they felt were being monitored by law enforcement. Well, yeah. They also wanted to use the phones with numbers not known to the press, which sounds like some premeditated shit, right? The woman insisted she's not guilty of anything besides trying to be supportive of her friend Terry Horman. She added she withdrew her support when she began cooperating with investigators. She said she has turned over cell phone records, her business line, and all relevant emails to investigators that could help them in the case. It has been confirmed that at least one of the phones was purchased by Spitzer, but what remains unclear is why 2 additional prepaid phones were purchased at another store in downtown Portland the next day under the same fake name used at the Lloyd Center. The friend said she knows those phones were paid for in cash, but says she did not make the purchase. While witnesses continue to file into the Multnomah County Courthouse on Friday for the 5th day to testify before a grand jury regarding the Kyron Horman case. Testimony was taken from another close friend of Terry Horman, who was often at the Horman home supporting her after the June 4th disappearance of the boy. The friend spent more than 2 hours with jurors and prosecutors on the case. She is one of at least 3 friends of Terry Horman who had her house searched and was given a polygraph test in the missing boys case. Ben Kiefer, principal of Skyline School, also appeared before a grand jury on Friday. He could hold potentially valuable information since it was at his school that Kyron Horman was last seen touring classrooms with his stepmother during the science fair. So yeah, they're very suspicious of her. They served search warrants on her friends' homes, hoping to find something that would probably connect her with that crime. Okay, I think I have one more local report I want to show you guys, and then we'll get out of here. Maybe 2. This one's a minute 36 seconds. This one's 3 minutes. Let's watch both of them.
Now the latest on missing Oregon boy Kyron Horman, last seen nearly a month ago. For the first time, his mother is implying that the boy's stepmother knows what happened to him. CBS News correspondent John Blackstone reports.
Kyron Horman's mother spoke to the media yesterday, pleading for help and addressing Kyron's stepmother.
We implore Terry Horman to fully cooperate with the investigators to bring Kyron home.
Terry Horman, Kyron's stepmother, was the last to see the 7-year-old alive when he disappeared from school on June 4th. She's been one focus of the investigation surrounding his disappearance. On Monday, Kyron's father filed for divorce, moved out of the home with their 19-month-old daughter, and obtained a restraining order against Terry.
Clearly, there's been a division here, and the biological parents are pointing the finger at Terry Horman, saying, "What happened? You should be helping, you know."
While Terry Horman has not been named a suspect in Kyron's disappearance, she has been given 2 polygraph tests and Wednesday retained a prominent Portland criminal defense attorney.
It's very surprising that it took so long for her to actually hire a lawyer. She's been in the spotlight and the target of this investigation for so long.
The FBI and local police have now declared this a criminal investigation, but Kyron's mother isn't.
Let's go to Anna's comment here. If you knew your regular phones were being tracked and you wanted private conversations with friends, anonymous burner phones are a reasonable choice. I don't think there's anything reasonable about that. It makes you look very suspicious. It also shows that you have knowledge of bypassing surveillance. You're showing that your level of sophistication to hide from the investigation is on another level. So I think it makes her look very guilty and suspicious. Not only that, it caused search warrants to be served and her friends to be polygraphed. So I don't think it was a very good choice.
And giving up.
Kyron is still alive. We would like all of you, everyone, to continue to get his face out there. We pray each day for Kyron.
John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
Now the latest on missing Oregon boy Kyron Horman, last seen nearly a month.
Okay, so we're going to play one more quick report, 3-minute video, and we'll talk for about 5 minutes, and then that'll be my time for today. And then hopefully I'll see you guys later in the evening. We might have Patrick Westfall on as a guest live on camera discussing the Delphi case and the mention of his name in the recent defense memorandum.
Has been getting in trouble with the law lately, but still has not been named a suspect in the disappearance of Kyron Horman.
It's been 6.5 years since Kyron went missing, and his mother told me she's at a pivotal point for an update on her son.
Get up every day because you have to. It doesn't get easier.
For Medford resident Desiree Young, today feels no...
That's a good theory, Anna. Maybe he just wandered off. Maybe it had nothing to do with that, but the thought of him just wandering off into the woods. We covered the Asia Decree case, and just to kind of show my viewers, what these young kids are capable of, we went from age 2 all the way to age 13. We had a 2-year-old that snuck out of her home, got fully dressed on her own, grabbed some change in her hand, and at midnight crossed a dark street, no street lights, went into a gas station and tried to buy some pieces of candy. And then we went all the way from age 10, 11, or 9, 10, 11, all the way to 13, Alicia Navarro, who was lured out of her home. And then when she became 18, basically said, hey, you guys need to take my name off the missing persons list. So there's many things that could have happened. One boy who was 9 years old acted like he was getting on the bus, but instead of getting on the bus, he went back home and he was going to play video games all day. But when he saw his neighbors, he thought he was going to get in trouble, so he hid in the woods. Well, when he was trying to hide in the woods, he became lost, and he was lost for over 24 hours. He sought shelter in an RV, I believe, and was able to make it through the night because he found shelter, but he got lost in his own backyard. So, I mean, what Anna's saying is very possible. And to me, that's the only reason they haven't arrested Terry, is that there's a small chance that something like that could have happened. Very small chance, in my opinion.
Different than the day her son, Kyron Horman, went missing.
You know, why Kyron? He's a good kid.
That's the question Young says she would ask Kyron's former stepmom, Terry Horman, if she could talk to her after appearing on Dr. Phil last year.
Just being me, I was a little bit frustrated. I thought he was too soft on her.
I was never asked in any polygraph if I had murdered Kyron, if I had harmed him in any way.
That was the last public appearance Terry made since Kyron went missing from his Portland elementary school. Terry was the last person to see 7-year-old Kyron. He was at a pre-class science fair where he was photographed, but then disappeared in June of 2010.
You still believe that she's involved, she killed Kyron?
Yeah, I believe that she did something that day, and she still hasn't revealed all of the true things that happened on June 4th.
After taping with Dr. Phil,
I don't think
police
she'll
in
talk
California arrested
ever.
Terry. Officers in Marysville say she stole a gun from her roommate. Then, a couple days before Christmas, Terry was arrested for driving a stolen car outside of San Francisco.
Jesus.
Everything that's been happening is just what we already know about her true nature, and that she's a criminal. And I think that when she, you know, goes out there and grants interviews with Dr. Phil and, you know, continues to lie and not give us anything of any value, it is somewhat frustrating because we're just still here dealing with the aftermath and every day, you know, living without answers and living without Kyron.
Desiree says the recent arrests give her hope in getting closer to finding her son, but she fears Terry may be up to more trouble.
I think that she's a threat to the community, and I think that before she is in prison, that she may end up hurting someone else.
Terry Horman has been going by the name of Terry Lynn Moulton. Her attorney says she has no public comment at this time about the recent arrests. The Marin County DA says due to insufficient evidence, the stolen car case there has been dropped, but she still faces other charges in Yuba County.
She's going to be held accountable for what she's done for Kyron and everything else. And so I hope that that's going to come this year.
Terry.
All right, I have one more little article here for you guys. Second person seen in the truck while Terry at Kyron school. KGW has learned that investigators are trying to determine the identity of a person who was seen sitting in the truck Terry Horman was driving the day Kyron disappeared. KGW has learned that investigators are trying to determine the identity of a person who was seen sitting in the truck Terry Horman was driving the day Kyron Horman disappeared. According to several sources in the Skyline community, including people who have spoken with investigators, the person was seen by at least 2 witnesses while Terry was in the school with Kyron. So that's interesting. Investigators have gone through Terry's cell phone and email records trying to establish who the person was. It's really significant if someone else was in there, and people are indicating it wasn't a child, said C.W. Jensen, a former Portland police homicide detective. While Terry Horman has not been charged or even officially identified as a person of interest in the case, investigators have clearly focused attention on her, even telling Kane Horman and others that they have probable cause to believe that she was responsible for Kyron's disappearance. So yeah, she's definitely a suspect in the case. Investigators have also been focusing on the activities of Terry's friend, Dee Dee Spitzer, the day that Kyron disappeared. On Sunday, KGW reported that investigators have been searching the property where Spitzer was gardening on June 4th. Also, KGW has learned that at least 3 friends of Terry's, including Dee Dee Spitzer, bought prepaid cell phones in the days following Kyron's disappearance, some using fake names. So yeah, it could have just been bad choices on their part. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We're going to start wrapping it up. If you could, please hit the like button on the way out. And if you're part of the replay crew, please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about today's morning live stream. If you're not subscribed, please consider. Also, please consider becoming a member. We get together for members only every Wednesday. You got it, Silas. There's a tip line, 503-261-2847. Yeah, he left her and put a restraining order out on her. Give a shout out to Freckled Joy and Shay Watson for sponsoring today's live stream. Legitimizing. Thank you. So it looks like this is what he was wearing. Here's a closer shot of his pants. Looking like some Jenkos or something. Skechers, long white socks. And the shirt. It's a pretty cool shirt too, CSI. He's like, I'm going to wear my science t-shirt. He's a cute kid. Looks like he had a bright future. Age progression. If he's living, this is what he might look like.
Yeah, Shay, we look straight to the most likely suspect while sitting next to the most unlikely. Can't see the forest for the trees. Yeah, she could look very guilty and it could be somebody else. But I mean, she had motive, she had opportunity. This is just an awful case. This is one of those cases where you don't know if you'll ever find closure, you know, or you'll just have somebody who stumbles upon the remains and it blows the case wide open. Was a cute kid, that's for sure. Boston says, God bless little Kyron Horman. He's like, I'm losing my teeth, yo. So here's a map of that little school. And I think the fair was in the gym, right? So I'm assuming if this is the main entrance, the parking lot would be out here. He could easily have gone out of any one of these exits. Nobody would have seen him. It's Portland, Oregon. Yeah, I didn't believe in coincidences until I started watching that show, The First 48. And I mean, they would find suspects that were there that fit the description and also have a sketchy past and look just like the killer, right? They think they got their guy. And then something comes up where they're like, how is this possibly not him? And then they catch the real guy. He looks just like the other person. Like, there are coincidences. And I think investigators deal with it all the time. Should you ignore coincidences? No, never. I don't think so. I don't know about you guys, but this bridge looks pretty sketchy. Yeah, it's true. The elements. I mean, how are you going to find anybody in that? Only way it's going to be by happenstance. Like in Indiana, those mushroom hunters, right? That's how all these bodies are found. Mushroom hunters who are kind of going through this rough stuff, trying to find the good mushrooms, right? So the places they need to go are the same places the killers are looking for to hide their bodies. Speculation, welcome. Yeah, that was crazy how they found Brian. There was a pretty big search for that guy. And they kind of had an idea of where he was, somewhat. I mean, look at that. I mean, he can barely walk through there. All right, guys, that is all my time. Like I said, if you could please hit the like button on the way out. If you were able to catch this live stream, and catch it live and participate in the chat, shout out to you. If you're part of the replay crew, sorry you missed us. We love you just the same. Let us know what you think in the comments. And hopefully I'll get with you guys a little bit later today with Patrick Westfall in regards to the Delphi case. We should be having him live either later tonight or sometime tomorrow. I'll keep you guys updated on that. So until then, have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.